And I was like,
Great. And then do I have people talking to this?
Yeah, that one's also working too. But if you get feedback or if it sounds weird, just let me know. Worst case scenario, you want to do it real quick? There's just this little push tab right here. Push it and you yank it out. There'll be a little bit of feedback, a little blare. That's fine. But yeah, that one, just look it up to be solid.
Okay, thanks for your help.
Of course. I'll just be around.
He likes to swim, they all like to swim.
yeah, it makes
It's
it
just
worse.
such a great story, but he doesn't say anything specific about. He doesn't really say anything other than the character's powers. And that's what it's really that alone is out. It really was about courage.
So usually when I
Courage. I
have
use it to
to,
teach
you
the
know,
courage character
it's
trait.
in my life.
I just love the representation of that.
You know, so
Great, you know, that's something
sometimes
kids
it
need to see.
can be
They need
a
to
little
see
tickle, just
Yeah.
feel like you gotta.
images, just that. Yeah, so I've been kind of thinking
I
about.
would
You gotta use it every
Yeah, I
day.
think we should, because that's something about.
So the funeral
Yeah, it does.
is supposed to be the
Yes,
rest of it,
but
but the real, I use that once a day.
really diverse.
And I usually prefer
Years of the
at night. So I go to
If I have a staff like this, I
real
Better than that.
For me, it feels that way. You know, because that way it just kind of makes it nothing nice and everyone.
You want to help me? It's like when I'm
Sleep.
driving.
Hey, how are you? Good.
I listen to audio. Do you do this? Do you listen to audio? Like you want to go on this walk.
But that comes from, I guess, using the
Just think it.
I started doing that.
Process the world. That's my safe spot, so I participate.
Well, that makes sense.
Doing great.
Thanks for the info. Yeah, see you again.
It's pretty common.
Play sports.
Yeah. I was a cheerleader, I was involved with everything.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Hello, how you doing?
Right, is that right?
Third Thursday? Yeah, is today the third Thursday? Yeah. Well, whatever, I lucked out there. I don't think there is a fourth Thursday this month, is there? Is there a fourth Thursday, is that 28th? Oh, if I have any more calendar questions now, I know who to go. Oh, my goodness.
How are you doing? Good.
Hello, how are you doing? All right. Okay, where is the education?
That's the one thing that we need to make really happen. She said there's slides, so she goes.
This is great, I can see what the back of my head looks like in front of me. You know, every once in a while I wonder, like, what's going on back there?
There's a party back there.
You know, that's a moment, right? Business up front, party in the back.
Party in the back.
Oh, my goodness.
It's 6:30.
It-
It's 6:30.
I thought it was going to snow tonight.
I started with snowing.
It was dry.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. Well, they say it might snow tonight.
Yeah.
Feels cold enough. I had to jump out and get gas. I was like, oh, it definitely feels cold enough to snow.
Man, I'm gonna go ahead and start and,
Wait, about 3 minutes. It's only 6:27. You got the.
okay, you know how I am, girl. I
I'd
like to
be like, okay, come on now, everyone's got to be on time. Without me leaving. Oh, yeah,
be- Yes.
here she comes, 1 minute late.
Yeah, dragging in. Speaking of buses.
Angela.
How are you doing?
I was like, is that mine? No, it's not mine.
Good to see you.
Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Yes, I'm glad you're here.
Yes, you're good. How are you?
Good. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
10,000.
Hello?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah.
Shoes, thank you.
Oh,
That's for guys.
wow, that's a great.
They're very bright.
How do people see you?
Yes,
You know?
Across the street.
visible across the street,
I almost ran
stylish and visible.
I almost ran into a guy the other day. It was dark and he was jogging and he was wearing all black.
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah, if you jog, you gotta wear it, like, right?
I don't know what that's about. Like, are you jogging undercover? Like, what?
I
Oh,
don't know.
Why would you want to be less visible at
They
night?
have such good, like, there's such good clothes now, like this, even stuff that have links and all this stuff.
Right, right,
Make
right,
you
yeah, yeah,
super visible. I mean, I'm a runner myself, so, yeah, there's so much great stuff out there. Was that?
Are you a runner too? Because don't
Yeah,
count me in
yeah.
that group.
I am a runner.
okay, I'll take you out.
I
I was down to go walker.
like to run. Walker?
Yeah, I'll
I
walk.
walk.
Sure.
No, that's,
I used to run.
did you?
I did. I used to run 2 miles every day.
Wow. That's a nice amount.
Nice.
Yeah. That was back when I was a stay-at-home mom.
It's hard to fit in, it's hard to fit in running when you're busy, for sure.
It was my, that was my morning.
You get it in the mornings?
I
Yeah,
would do it every morning. Just get up, I had my tennis shoes right there.
yeah.
What about if it was snowy or icy? Would you go out anyway?
It was my, like, it was the respite that I, you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
If it was really bad snow, then I wouldn't.
I'm always amazed by those folks who do it, because I get very nervous about.
We got spikes on, I put spikes on the bottom of my shoe, yeah. You got these special snow cleats you put on? That's what I wear when I run the snow. Cleats. It's like kind of like snow tires, but with foot.
Yeah. All the things. I think that that's important to have something like that built into your life.
So here's, you feel better when I run.
Yeah.
Feel better.
Yeah. And it may not, like for you, it's running, it may not be running.
One day it'll be walking, for sure. I can't run forever.
As long as it's not doom scrolling, as long as it's not
There you go.
I know.
going between news
One of
channels.
you guys that run with these 7
It's
still running, I know.
A couple
So,
of weeks ago, then our executive director.
I've
First
never
time.
done-
Yeah, I don't know.
They really crank it up so you're sweating and your muscles are loose.
It's
Good, how are you?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think off this week.
Pushed it too far.
It's winter break now. So I get a, yeah, I work with Vice Valley, not the big schools.
Oh.
So there's the tension that is created from
I'm getting it next year, but yeah, so, what I did,
Are you going back?
I will, but I'm gonna go to a different intention. How you doing? Yeah, I'm good. You as well. I apologize, I smell like Starbucks, I had a meeting there before I got here, and it just.
Yeah, can I get some of that caffeine smell maybe to wake me up?
It's like,
I should have done that.
yeah, I know, people who have meetings with me there, and then I order like tea, and they're like,
What is happening?
sorry, I can't drink the caffeine.
No, this late in the day.
Well, I drink decaf coffee if I'm gonna drink coffee. I drink decaf, or I have like a herbal tea or something like that. Cause my body can't handle the caffeine, so I go like this. Can I get some water real quick?
Yeah. Oh, great, I went to
Is that one tonight?
I really like.
She is. I'm gonna open us up and I'm gonna talk just a little bit about what's happening in our neck of the woods.
Great, when you do
It
that.
was cool.
Okay.
Really cool.
Are we
It's
ready?
off right now. Turn it on.
I just noticed your cap. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'm a hat person.
Had to be stopped.
In kindergarten, my teacher called me the hat lady because I would always come out just as like a hat kid. I got in trouble for wanting to wear my hat. Started at 6 years old. Now I'm a grown up. I can wear hats inside whenever I want.
Do we have people online?
We have 2 people watching.
Okay.
And we are switching to, we have 5 people watching. We're switching to YouTube now so people cannot talk. They can only chat.
Okay.
Just save a little energy. Okay.
Good evening, beautiful people. How are you? Are we good? Yes, I see a lot of head nods. Yes, feeling a little woo. Feeling good this evening? Yes. I'm glad that the weather did not deter you from coming and being here gathered together in this special space and with wonderful people. I am Jamie Stacy. I'm your Vice President of the NAACP, and I'm speaking here and hosting it on behalf and in the absence of our President, Lisa Gardner. So tonight, I would like to kick it off with a little bit of discussion before we turn things over to Miss April Eberhardt, who is the head of our Education Committee, with her amazing presentation that she has ready for us tonight. I used to love watching Al Roker on the Today Show, and he would do the weather, and then he'd say, "Now here's what's happening in your neck of the woods." I used to love it. I don't know what it was about it, but that was that little tagline that he had. But I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in our neck of the woods. In our neck of the woods right now, we have seen some local legislation in the city of Post Falls in regard to dismissing the celebration of Juneteenth and reinstating the celebration of Columbus Day and attaching that to American heritage. So I can feel the energy and the size in the room. Just to give you all a couple minutes to think about that. Think about it and what it means. Okay? And I'm going to ask for your feedback in just a second. What do we know? Like, what do we know? Well, Juneteenth, we know that it is a celebration of the end of something horrendous, right? And I have had some conversations with white colleagues about this to say, so often we look at our white colleagues and we're having this discussion about what went wrong. Juneteenth is the true opportunity to come together and celebrate what went right. So it is just as much a celebration for our white colleagues as it is for those of us who experienced freedom. Because it's your opportunity to stand up and say, I know we did a lot of stuff wrong, but we got this right. We ended slavery. Let's celebrate that. And in the reinstatement of Columbus Day, I would say Columbus should not be idolized. He should not be forgotten either. So in reinstating, we're reinstating with honest truth that what happened was horrible. Absolute horrible. What happened. But can we deny that through time and historically, what we can see and the space that we are standing in now today, this happened, but then there were other pieces that happened to bring us to where we are today. We can't erase that. It is a part of American history. It is not a part that we are celebrating and idolizing, but we are not forgetting it either. Those are just some of my thoughts. I would love to hear from at least two of you in the room who are brave enough to speak maybe your thought in regards to Juneteenth and this local legislation that's happening. How do you think that those ideas will influence what happens here in Spokane, or maybe embolden some to say, I don't have to celebrate you, instead of looking at it for what it truthfully is? All right. Anybody feel like they want to speak on it? Oh, Miss Faye.
Yes. It's very disturbing to see Juneteenth turn back because it is a part of American history. We celebrate St. Patrick's Day for Irish people that have come to this country. We have Oktoberfest for Germans who have come to this country, and every other ethnic group pretty much who has come to this country has been able to establish a celebration in their name, and nobody tries to say, we're not going to acknowledge it. I think the part is not necessarily you don't make anybody celebrate anything that they don't want to, but the fact that you just acknowledge the fact that these things happened. And that's what really bothers me, because I grew up in Philadelphia and we had all kinds of celebration. They have Puerto Rican parades. We have a huge Jewish neighborhood. We have everybody there when, growing up. And so there's all kinds of community that has celebrations, but particularly disturbing. And I got to say this because I don't know if you all saw how the slave memorial in Philadelphia was taken down. The judge just voted that it had to be put back up because George Washington had 9 slaves in Philadelphia with him when he was president at the president's house. So here we are trying to take that down. It's a part of history. It's not saying that, oh, well, we want, it's just trying to include all history.
Yeah. Very good. We have one more person who would like to lend thought to this local legislation. We've got just a couple of minutes.
I worked for about 10 years on an Indian reservation, and I think it's important to put yourself in the shoes of Native Americans. I'm not speaking for them, but having been around a lot of tribal members, that holiday lands very differently for them. It is the start of something horrible that happened to Native American tribes. And I like what you said, that we do need to remember history, but there's a difference between learning about it and remembering it and celebrating it. And Columbus Day is a celebration of something that we really shouldn't be celebrating anymore. And I think it's one of those things that, that does need to go away. And to bring it back is a step in the wrong direction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for you all being here, for your time, and for sharing. At this time, I would like to give the floor to Miss April Eberhardt, our Education Committee Chair. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I'm a little tired. I've been waking up early and not being able to go back to sleep. I wanted to talk tonight before we have our guest about the new changes with the One Big Beautiful Bill and how that affects student aid on the federal level, student loans, the reclassification of what is considered professional. And I also want to talk about what Washingtonians can do. I'm also a college and career counselor. So this is pretty timely because as of July 1st, these changes will take effect. And I already know friends who are making decisions now so they can get in before the changes take effect. So this is about awareness, even if you're not a graduating senior from in high school, if you're someone who's looking for graduate programming, this will affect you. I'm a person who has 2 master's degrees in student loans because of the post-secondary or the post-bachelor programming. So if I got one more in me, this will affect me. So I just want to summarize it because we hear a lot. I mean, there's an onslaught of information in the news about all these changes. So I wanted to look at what it all means, because when I heard the reclassification of what's considered professional and non-professional, I was like, whoa, those are a lot of the professions that Black and brown people pipeline through. So I want to summarize the federal student aid changes. The OBBA is the one big, beautiful, really it's ugly, bill act, and explain what all of this means in terms that we can all kind of grapple with. And I also want you to mark Senate Bill 5828, because that's a step Washington is taking to secure some funding to marginalized and vulnerable communities. I was supposed to set my timer so I don't go over, so our special guest can get all his time. So hold on one moment, please. I'm trying to be timely. Okay. So federal versus state policy landscape. As we know, historically, the Pell Grant and the SEOG grants are the biggest pots of money that students with the highest need benefit from. Federal changes narrow that availability, but in Washington, we are pushing with the Senate bill that I mentioned to expand grant access. Washington College Grant and the College Bound Scholarship are 2 very well-known pots of money. And even in recent years, Washington College Grant was expanded to include a wider threshold of families who can access the money. So this is a dual policy environment because you got the federal government crunching in, and we want Washington to spread us out. The low-income, first-generation public sector workforce pipelines and the economic mobility for generational wealth are all what's kind of being targeted if you really sit and look at those professions that are being targeted. Social workers, teachers, nurses. These are the professions that a lot of us see ourselves in, right? So the federal student aid policy affects those groups. On July 4th of this past year in the summer, the Ugly Act was signed into law with some provisions effective immediately. As of this July, most major changes will begin. Pell Grant, FAFSA rules, loan limits, repayment options. By the July of next year, deferment and forbearance limits will change for the new loans that are taken. And there will be a sunset in the 2028 and transition deadlines for certain existing repayment plans. How many of y'all got student loans and are on a repayment plan? Yes, so that income-based, income-driven repayment plan, they're trying to, well, I think you may be grandfathered in, but they're trying to stop that from happening. Potential, as I mentioned, public service definitions. Also, those of us who work in public service, we get the PSLF, Public Service Loan Forgiveness. Well, this will impact that as well. So you don't get that forgiveness. So you have K-12 educators, social workers, community health workers, nonprofit employees, and government contractors. This could impact the way you are able to claim loan forgiveness after working for 10 years in that sector and paying your loans. We know that Black and brown, and I'll say white poor as well, because this is a class issue. They borrow at higher rates and at higher amounts. Why? Because we don't come from generational wealth. We can't afford to just pull money out of our pocket to pay our tuition. We take longer to repay loans. Again, this is all systemic and has to do with how our families have been able to accumulate wealth over the years. I am a first generation college student, so my mom was, I was Pell eligible, but I've kind of made it to that middle class. My husband and I, my kids don't get the Pell Grant now, but that doesn't mean I can just pull money out and pay 2 tuitions, right? That's the lie they think is true about how middle class is able to afford things. When you have mortgage, increased interest for home loans, you have to have a car to drive. Groceries are expensive. So these are things that we all need to take into consideration. It does take us longer to repay loans. While we've gotten up one rung, we still have those costs that saturate our way of living. So this will ultimately shift and widen the racial wealth gap. If the definition is narrow, these eligible positions will lose their ability to have loan forgiveness and all of that. Pell Grant, and there's something called the new workforce Pell, plus tighter eligibility rules for some students. Basically, as it stands right now, what used to be called the estimated family contribution, the EFC, was what they thought you could afford to pay. They look at your income. They've changed that to what's called an SAI, a student aid index. Similar concept, but they give you this scale of what they feel your income qualifies you for Pell Grant, which is the most common pot of money. For those in high need, it's the SEOG, and those are typically your foster care or students who don't have any parental or home support. Well, there's a workforce Pell Grant that they're instituting also, but it's going to kind of create a little bit of narrowing of what Pell has traditionally been able to do. Asset exemptions, so they're also changing the FAFSA formula. So I do FAFSA every day, all day. I can do it in my sleep because this is the season, right? But they look at your assets. They look at how much money you have in the bank. They look at if you own a farm, and there were certain things that were exempt that are no longer being exempt. Also, for those who, once you get a bachelor's degree, you don't get Pell Grants. So you have to get loans, right? So they're also changing how much loan money. Oh, shoot. What did I do? I hit a button. Sorry. Was this my slide? Okay, so before, if your family, if you had a family farm or a family-owned small business, you could be exempt, but they're restoring that now. So they're counting that. So it works against you. It also expands asset exemptions to commercial fisheries, and it also requires foreign income to be included in your AGI. Right now, that's a question on the FAFSA, and of course, they ask that now, but if you have to include foreign money, that means you make more money. So they're saying you can afford to pay your own tuition. Through an equity lens, the FAFSA rule changes can shift eligibility in different directions depending on your family's profile. So it largely affects those with assets because they want you to include those assets in your total income so that you can pay out of pocket and they don't have to give grants for that. New borrowing terms, they're giving you less, right? They're giving you less money to borrow. But they're keeping the limits high for doctors and veterinarians and dentists. They're lowering the limits for nurses and teachers and social workers, right? Legacy provisions, if you are already in a program with a direct loan, such as myself, before July of this year, you will continue to exist under the prior rules for up to 3 academic years or the remainder of the program, whichever is less. So hurry up and pay your loans within 3 years or you're going to get hit with the new rules. More pressure on institutional aid, employer benefits, or private credit markets for high-cost graduate programs. The low-interest loans come from the federal government. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, when you get student loans from those institutions, you're looking at high interest, right? So they're limiting how much you can borrow at the low interest rate. And that means you have to look other places, right? But our institutions are also not thriving in money right now, right? So graduate loans, which most everyone, unless you get a fellowship or something, you will have to borrow. And these are new caps. And there's a lifetime cap. So like, I got one more in me, but I have to look and see if I can afford to take out the loan or just pay directly. They're also going to eventually eliminate the Parent Plus loans, I believe. Or the Grad Plus loans, I'm sorry. So Parent Plus loans are what parents take out on behalf of their students. As it stands now, undergraduate students themselves can't take out more than about $20,000 over the course of their bachelor's career or bachelor's degree. They're not going to give 20-year-olds like all this money to borrow. So a lot of times parents have to borrow for their student to get through their program, but they're also capping that as well. And those are also low interest loans from the federal government. There's a lifetime cap. So you see here, when you're talking about law school or medical school, that's where this amount really does matter, because we all know those programs are expensive and it's a 6-year track. So it affects those students wanting to go into programs like nursing and stuff like that. New Parent Plus loan caps are $20,000 per year per student. New Parent Plus aggregate cap, meaning $65,000 is the cap per dependent student as an aggregate. New Parent Plus loans made after July 1st of this year must be repaid under the new standard plan. The new standard plan is replacing the income-based, the IRB, I think, income-driven repayment plan. So they're changing the way in which you can alter how much you pay back based on how much you make. So if a borrower holds a mix of the RAP eligible and ineligible loans, repayment can be split. So they're just looking at when you borrowed and what rules apply. Repayment overhaul, there are only going to be 2 plans for the new way, only 2 repayment options: tiered standard plan and repayment assistance. That's what RAP stands for, repayment assistance. For borrowers with no new loans after July 1st, 2026, they can remain on existing plans, but transitions and sunsets apply. So basically by 2028, pay your loans off or go under the new payment system. Here's some of the rules. Monthly payment is set at about almost 1 to 10% of your income, your AGI. $10 minimum monthly payment, $50 reduction in base payment per dependent, 30-year repayment horizon with forgiveness at the end. So they are offering some forgiveness at the end, but right now, if you work for a qualifying agency, it's 10 years, 30 years. That's a mortgage, right? Now it's like you work 10 years in the public sector, a qualifying, field, and you can pay your loans off. Now it's 30. So they're designing it for a longer haul. Designed to prevent balances from growing when making on-time payments. So that's the rationale behind this, is that the payment won't balloon because of protected plans that keep you from paying on time. Economic hardship and unemployment deferments are sunset for new loans made after July of 2027. Forbearance for new loans made on or after July 1st of 2027 are limited to 9 months in any 24-month period. For me as a military spouse, there were times when I moved and didn't have a job. So I really benefited from the unemployment deferments, because you have to stop and start so many times, but there are going to be limits to this as well. On an advocacy note, constraints can increase the risk for borrowers to face who are facing volatile income. So there's a risk. If I don't have a job and I can't pay my loans, I only have this little bit of time versus it being an extended amount of time according to my need at that time. So there's a risk there. And then you might violate and go into forbearance and all of that. Implementations of the 2022 borrower defense rules is delayed until July 1st, 2035. Basically, for loans originating before 2035, borrower defense rules revert to those in effect on July 2020. There were some closed school discharge rules for schools that closed, and they're also being delayed to 2035 with reversion to pre-2022 rules for earlier originating loans. On an advocacy note, what can we start thinking about these shifts? Affect pathways to relief for students harmed by institutional misconduct or closures. So the for-profit schools, the diploma mills, there was some protection from that, but now that's going away. So also be very attentive to whether your school's accredited and what that means, and all of that. There are a lot of online schools and a lot of for-profit schools. New accountability framework affects all programs across all sectors. Programs can lose direct, so now you're talking about the institutions, right? Institutions can lose direct loan eligibility if they fail the low earning outcomes measure 2 out of 3 years. So now this is not only affecting the borrower, but the institutions as well. Undergraduate compares earnings of completers versus working adults with only a high school GED. So wow, they're looking at whether you finish the program, if you get a job and all of that, which this is a compounding issue, right? Like I can't control, if I'm in an institution, there's another layer within the employment sector that is going to affect whether I can access those monies as an institution. And we all know that there's a pendulum swing with regard to the workforce, right? Graduate compares earnings post-enrollment versus working adults. So now they're looking at if you getting your degree is even paying off, and should we be allowed to give you this money to loan your students if you don't exceed working adults without the degree. So it's kind of, yeah. Requires warnings to students when programs fail the measure. So now there's a stricter accountability on institutions, but who's managing the workforce is the question, right? So if I, as an institution, have to guarantee that there's a certain success rate, what's happening outside of my institution to ensure that the employment that is out there is working in the favor of those who get the degrees? So it's a compounding issue. Professional versus non-professional degrees and why it matters. Basically, the reclassification, as I mentioned, controls how much loan money you can get. And these are the ones that still get the high rates. Notice, a doctor of pharmacy, doctor of chiropractic, a doctor of optometry, osteopathic medicine, podiatry, and theology still's in there, right? Theology is still in there. But MSW, a DSW, all of these other doctorates that you get are no longer going to be considered professional. It's not a reflection on the quality of the degree. It's basically a way to code that you don't get as much loan money as you once could have gotten to finish that program. Which is awful, because I can guarantee in this room, if we do a show of hands, about everybody's probably in one, at least 80%, I would guess, is in one of the fields that now has a cap on loans. Examples of degrees that are often treated as professionals that are going to change. Programs not treated as professional degrees moving forward under the current interpretation may include, now this isn't yet final, I think there's still conversation about it, but these are the targets. Even engineering master's degrees, social work, public health, education, physical assistant, occupational therapy assistant, physical therapist. And occupational and physical therapists now go for a doctorate level in most programs. So the practical impact, these students may face the lower $100,000 cap or aggregate cap versus $200,000, the difference of $100,000. And doctoral programs are not cheap, especially in your health sciences, right? So what is Washington doing? Mark this in your notes, Senate Bill 5828. We have money in our state. We are in a deficit as a state, but this bill seeks to increase grant access for Washingtonians. Of course, these students need to go to school in the state of Washington because it is Washington state aid. But at this level, the state is trying to offset what the federal is doing by supporting need-based aid expansion. Right now, College Bound Scholarship, Washington College Grant, and I think those are the two main ones. Those are your main pots of money in Washington that give students grant money that they can use to go to school. It protects the most vulnerable of us because we know this is a class issue, right? We know who historically has been exposed to generational wealth. We know that those who can afford to pay for medical school are usually not those who have come from marginalized populations historically, and it could help offset federal changes. But we have to support that bill. We have to support that bill because there are major cuts also happening in our state. Washington state context, Washington College Grant, WCG, and College Bound Scholarship. What they're trying to do now is, it's a College Bound Scholarship is something right now that middle schoolers who are income eligible are signed up for. And if they're still income eligible by the time they're a senior, when I see them, they apply for FAFSA. It gets applied. It is not a full ride. That is a misconception. It is a gap filler. Basically, it looks to see what other monies you get and it fills the gap. But that's been a big thing for several years as Washington State's way of supporting their own student base with funding. State level choices matter more when federal borrowing is capped and the grad plus loan is eliminated. I said parent plus loans will be eliminated. That was a mistake. It's the grad plus loan. So those who want to go on and get their post-bachelor's degrees, they won't have access to the grad plus loan. Senate Bill 5828. Beginning in 26-27, so that's this year, the maximum Washington College grant becomes 90% of the average award. So they're increasing the amount of money you get from the Washington College grant. And beginning in 27-28, maximum College Bound Scholarship Award becomes 90% of the same benchmark. So they're increasing. The hope is to increase those amounts so that those who need the money can get it. Those low-income families, those first-generation college students, those Black, those brown, those who were born in poverty or low-income levels who cannot afford to go into their bank and say, here, I'm going to pay this for my tuition. This is a change from the 50% benchmark adopted in 2025 for these institutions. So they're going up by 40%. This is the answer to what the federal government is doing. Of course, this also means you stay in the state of Washington to go to school because this money does not apply if you go to Montana or Utah or wherever. They're also looking to auto-enrollment by the Office of Student Financial Assistance for eligible students. So I think it's kind of doing that now. Your auto-enrolled notification to the families will go out, increased awareness materials for school districts and brochures. I get all of that already, but it's just another barrier removed for those who need the money to be able to get the money. Advocacy note, operational details influence real access, especially for families navigating FAFSA and WASFA barriers. WASFA is what you do when you don't qualify for federal aid. And I will say this, the FAFSA has been made so much simpler. If students can finish it in 15 minutes with me, invite their parent to do it, and the parent can finish it in 15 minutes because no longer do you have to bring your taxes in. It all gets pulled in, and even if you don't think you qualify, my advice for those families is apply and see what you need. You never have to accept loans. You can decline them, but see what you qualify for. I mean, it's looking like you're not going to qualify for a whole lot with the federal government, but apply anyway because you can't see what state aid you get until you do the federal aid, or you just jump right to the WASFA for those who may have citizenship issues or are ineligible for federal monies. The equity impact, structural context, Black students, brown students borrow more often and frequently, and they carry higher balances. I know all my friends have student loans. All my friends from high school and college got student loans. Yes, we all got student loans. Sometimes we joke and say it's going to be with us till we die. But then that's a larger conversation about what it takes to achieve the American dream, what it takes to be upwardly mobile economically, because more degrees, but I also want to re-educate because right now the skills trades are cheaper to acquire and will earn you some better wages, but that's a different conversation for another day. But But if you're going to get a degree, be intentional about what career is attached with it. When a lot of times people, sorry, I'm segueing again, but a lot of times people continue to get degrees because they're in fields where they're not making a salary that they can see themselves retiring from profitably. So I talked to someone who's got like 4 degrees because new fields require new certifications, require this to get this salary. So this is also the hamster wheel of our economy when we're talking about how do we build generational wealth, right? Talking from someone who wants to switch professions, right? So I don't even know now. When federal borrowing is capped and Grad Plus loans are eliminated, for the Grad Plus loans, those are those mid-career changes, right? Those are those of us who want to switch and go into another program. And if I want to become an occupational therapist, I think I might be capped already, quite frankly. I don't know. But that's who's affected by that, right? Students with less wealth to draw on face higher risk of unmet need and private debt. Private debt from your banks, those loans are expensive. That interest is what you don't want. The lowest interest loans are going to come from the federal government. Community serving career pipelines, healthcare, education, and social work are going to be constrained. So not only do we see that those professions are being cut, but the resources that the support provided in our society by those jobs is also an issue. Your teachers, we all know we need representation in education. We all know that social work is a big key to social justice for a marginalized community. So there is, again, a cyclical effect to all of these things. It's not just about controlling the student debt issue. It's also about restructuring and re-stratifying the class system and the supports needed for marginalized communities. What can the NAACP policy and advocacy agenda do? We need to be tracking the rulemaking, this professional, what's considered professional and what's not. We need to be advocating that the professions that we know we are in, my time's up, but I'm done. We need to make sure that we are advocating for those professional careers, because those are the careers that serve our communities a lot of times. Not to say that we don't need our veterinarians and doctors, but they're trying to cut us, they're trying to pull the rug from under us in multiple ways. Monitor Senate Bill 5828 implementation and the funding for Washington College Grant and College Bound Scholarship, and expand your FAFSA completion. If you have grandchildren, nieces, nephews, if you need help doing it, call me. I will show you how. Or the WASFA. Let's get it done so that while it is still here, even with the limitations, we can access it. File the FAFSA early. Double check your income sources because they're changing the rules on you. And trust the studentaid.gov. I have resources. These are all just different resources to look at, but that's it. Education is a civil rights issue. We talked about literacy. We did our dyslexia screening. Last year we did the right to read. But if you can't read, write, and learn and get educated, what are you able to do in society that will help you grow and elevate? That's it. Thank you very much. I can give you all the resources and I can sit with you and I'm actually talking about getting FAFSA workshops done. You really can't do FAFSA unless you're a graduating senior or a student going into, an adult going into a program, because you won't need it unless you're actually attending. But we need to be aware of these things and support the Senate bill. Right now, I would like to introduce resources. The village mindset. How do we help each other? How do we not work in silos? How do we bridge those gaps? How do we become support for each other? I would like to introduce someone who has a great mission and vision to support vulnerable communities. He's going to share what his organization is. Please come to the front. He was featured in the Black Lens a little while ago. I'm gonna let him talk about why he does what he does. Soulful Steps.
I am not a mic guy.
Oh, okay. He said he's loud.
Do we have, can I access, can I connect my laptop, please? Good evening, everyone. My name is Eugene Burgess, and hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I am from Jersey City, New Jersey, right down the street from Philly.
Pittsburgh.
I've been in Spokane for 20 years, since 2005, so 20 years-ish, by way of San Diego. Soulful Steps, we are a nonprofit organization built.
Any chance you can email it to me?
Don't worry about it.
Sorry. And
Don't worry
also,
about it.
sorry, I'm so sorry, but if
Don't
you
worry
don't mind
about
using the mic, because there's folks online.
I am not a PowerPoint guy either. I have one slide, and that was it, which is my logo.
I'm gonna give you this because it helps the folks online here.
Am I not loud enough?
It's for the folks on the internet.
Oh, gee.
Sorry.
I am not a mic guy. Soulful Steps, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I got my letter of determination February 28th of last year. So officially I'm 1 year into my mission. And that mission is to serve underprivileged families, students, student athletes, military, veterans, the unsheltered, as well as elderly, by way of providing them brand new shoes, as well as other resources, excuse me. So right now I partner with Nike, and I just want to show you, to us, this is just a pair of shoes. But to young kids who are either aspiring athletes, who families do not provide or have the means to provide them with quality footwear. I was a young athlete. I'm the middle child of three, older sister, younger brother, single mother, worked 3 jobs, was hardly ever around. There were times where we sat at the table wondering if we were going to eat a meal together. And when we did have that meal, it was syrup sandwiches. Any syrup sandwich eaters here? Our Kool-Aid was what? Sugar water. We put water inside of our cereal. So that's where I come from. So times are hard. What I had going for myself was, one, I was a smart kid. I was an AB average student. I was very gifted in talent, very gifted in sports, track, football, and basketball. I knew that my athleticism was going to be my vehicle to get me into college. College was always my thing. My mother did a really good job in telling us, in order for you to make it, you've got to go to college. So I was very blessed and very fortunate that able to get good grades, was able to get a football scholarship to play football for the University of Kansas. I'm not going to bore you with my lifeline, my life story, but I eventually went to, graduated from Penn State. My major was political science. My minor was criminal justice. And I don't have any student loans. But the one thing that's always been on my heart was to give back. I grew up with people, very selfish people, during that time back in the 70s and 80s. I didn't have a mentor. The streets raised me. So I had to weave my way in and out of traffic the best way I can, to stay away from the knuckleheads, to find those who had like-minded directions and goals, and attach myself to them. I've been very fortunate to get my degree. One of my lifelong dreams was to be a professional football player. I was able to play on the New York Jets scout team for partial of a season. Wasn't good enough to make it throughout the full year, but nonetheless, I achieved my goals. And I'm telling you all this to say this. We cannot allow barriers to define, our kids cannot allow barriers to define who they are and where they're going to go or what they are to be. This is my mission, is that if there's a kid who has a heart to play sports, and even if you don't have a heart to play sport, you just want to get to school, but that barrier of not having a nice pair of shoes, we all know how important shoes are. It almost defines who you are as a person, especially our young teenagers. We don't want them to not go to school because they don't have a nice pair of kicks on. We want them to have an identity. Superficial it may be, but we want them to have an identity. So when they walk through those doors, one, they're not worried about how they look now because Soulful Steps are going to provide them the shoes. we're going to provide them some clothing too. So when they walk through the doors, the only thing they can focus on is education. Education is not for everybody. I understand that. We all know that. But at least make an attempt to get through those doors to learn something. So that's what we're doing. We're providing a resource to these families. I don't need any applications. I don't even need to know who the kid is. All I need to know is size and where to deliver. And within 48 hours, if it's in my inventory, I'm there. Okay? You don't need to go through all these programs and to get access to me. You can call me directly. You can email me directly. I am easily accessible. So right now, I'm currently working with the HEART program, both in the Valley and in Spokane District 81. So they have identified those kids and families who have an absolute need for resources. I'm also working with community centers. So far, I've only been working with one community center who's reached out to me directly, and that's Ms. Cordero in Liberty. And I work very closely with her. She's identified several families who not only need shoes, but clothing, but I also have a partnership with Amazon. So they provide me with non-perishables. So I get some canned goods. I get a few things that I'm able to help facilitate some of those needs where they may not have resources for. So again, my goal is for Soulful Steps to be a pillar in this organization. That when there is a need for a jacket, a pair of shoes, some sweats, a hoodie, that they don't need to be going looking around. One phone call. What they say, one phone call, that's all? That's it, one phone call, that's all. And mind you, listen, I'm talking, if you are a golfer, I have a direct connection with Nike. I'm trying to expand it to Adidas, New Balance, and Under Armour. They're a little slow right now, but I have access to all this quality material. So you're not getting Amazon shoes. You're not getting Amazon shirts. Nothing's wrong with those. Nothing wrong with the raw shirts at all. But this is quality clothing that kids can put on and feel proud to have on their backs. Has anybody ever heard of this brand? Look it up. $400 shoes. I get a box of 8 for $200. Yes. And when I say quality shoes, again, the style is not for everybody, okay? But they're good quality shoes. And again, a 13-year-old kid may not like that shoe. I get it. But a mom and a dad will. A dad who just got recently released from prison, who's looking for some nice clothing to go on job interviews with, that's a nice pair of shoes for him or her. So these are the people who we're trying to cater to, that we want them to say Soulful Steps. I work with LC High School, and I get a phone call weekly from their athletic department. Do you have wrestling shoes? Yes, I do. Do you have women track shoes? Yes, I do. I have every shoe known to sports. And if you don't participate in sports, I have Converse. I have all kinds of Nikes in my inventory. So again, I know I'm all over the place, but I just want to just really beat the point that we are here to serve your community, to serve our community. So if you have families that you know of that has a need for resources, please, I have material I'm gonna pass out in a second, but keep us in mind, keep me in mind. I'm here to deliver to the community the best I know how, because again, I was that kid who didn't have. My future goals. Within 5 years, I'd love to have my own brick and mortar so that community leaders like yourselves can come in, shop for a student, shop for a family, shop for a kid. Kids can come in and shop for themselves. So this is my future, that I'm able to provide those type of resources to our community, but also lend support for young kids who are coming out of high school who are looking for philanthropy work, who are looking for jobs to get back to the community. I want to be able to be that pillar. So my goal, my ambition is to have my own organization, my own brick and mortar, so that again, we can cement our mark here in Spokane and get back to the community the best we can, best we know how. And I'm going to leave it open for a few questions.
For the families who do sports, we had 2 track runners, and that got very costly. Can you give a ballpark of the cost of what it means to have a one student athlete for football or track? Because I was like, you need more shoes? What? My daughter was a sprinter, and then they were like $100, and we have the means, but I'm like, my God, then she would need new ones.
That's a good question. April, that's a really good question. So I have 2 kids. One goes to Ferris, one goes to LC. And I'm a shoe nut. If you've ever seen my closet, you'd be like, oh my, I made a promise to myself growing up that I would never want a pair of shoes, or excuse me, I would never need a pair of shoes. So as a result, I have 3 and 4 stacks per shoe and every color. So my kids are the same way. So my son is a sprinter. He's also a jumper. So for those who don't know, you have your sprinter shoes and you have your jumper shoes. Okay, my son's a long jumper. So the one pair of sprint shoes that we bought him was $160. The one pair of jump shoes were $180. So we're talking $340 just for him. Now my daughter, she's a thrower, shot put, and she's a sprinter. So again, $160, but then again, it tastes a little different. So $180 for her for a pair of running shoes. And I think her throwing shoes like $120, $130. So again, we're talking $500 for 2 kids, roughly, just for shoes. Okay, and like April said, sometimes those shoes wear out. As a thrower, your shoes will run out within 3. If you have 2 matches a week, you're probably looking at about 3 weeks before she needs a new pair of shoes to throw with. So again, basketball shoes, same thing. I mean, if you want to go a little less expensive, you could probably get a pair of shoes for $60. Today, you're probably looking at about, if you look for a really good pair of basketball shoes, almost $200 for a pair of basketball shoes, right? We have teenagers, we know. And they don't want them cheap ones either. They want the ones that go squeak, squeak, squeak. And for some reason, they think that a certain pair of shoes give them 3 more inches of height and 5 more inches of jumping ability. So anyway, so again, football shoes. You know, you're looking at $220 for a pair of football shoes. I mean, these shoes here, these are football shoes. Yeah, I wish they had these when I was in high school. Fire. Yeah, $130 for those. Yeah. I mean, so again, if you have a kid who plays multiple sports, you're probably going to spend about almost an upward of $1,000 on one kid who plays multiple sports. Okay, so like it can add up, and especially in today's environment where families are stuck. Where do I pay my light bill, or do I get my kids a new pair of shoes?
Yeah.
Do I put food on the table, or do I get my kids a new jacket? That's a tough conversation to have with your kid who's 15, 16, 17 years old, right? The prime of their teenage life, where everything that they do, the people that they see, people that see them is heavily impacted, right? So again, we want to be that mark, right? And mind you, I mean, if I could just show you some of the things that I get from Nike, I have a $500 jacket. It's a winter jacket, but it is the sweetest jacket. I got about 15 of them for $300. I mean, this is the things that I want to give the community, so that when these kids, wintertime comes, they have some warm clothing. They have secure shoes on their feet. They have nice sweatpants to keep them warm and secure, protected. So again, I'm sorry I'm all over the place, but this is my passion. I love children, not like. Disclaimer. I do. I'm one of those parents that I will adopt everyone's kid. I will feed everyone's kid. I will clothe everyone's kid. I will give them shelter. I've done it. Coached at Ferris High School. Kids come from abusive parents. They would call me 2:00 in the morning. Coach, can you come get me? I'm not exaggerating. I would go get those kids. That's just who I am. And I would never be, I'm unapologetic about it. If I can give it to you, I'm going to give it to you, period. So again, Soulful Steps.
I just wondered how you got connected to Nike and all those people and how they, how that worked.
Good question. So I met a very, very good friend, a woman, back in my younger days in Jersey. She wound up going to Nike around the same time I was trying out for the New York Jets. So we kind of stayed in contact for years, and she wound up working her way up echelon Nike. I think she's like maybe third, fourth, fifth in line to the CEO. In fact, she created Denver Broncos Super Bowl winning uniforms. I'm not gonna go into that, but so I stayed in contact with her and let her know, hey, we're working on this nonprofit. And she said, say no more. You may have to come out your pocket a little bit, but you will pay pennies on a dollar for what we can provide for you. So that's how I was able to connect with them. And mind you, Nike has their hands in a lot of other people's pockets. I'm talking, I could get truckloads from Amazon of stuff, household stuff. The list goes on. I mean, I have access to all of that stuff just because of my connection to Nike. So that's how I was able to form a relationship with, I don't want to say form a relationship with Nike. I formed a relationship with the person who in turn provided me all the access that they have throughout their relationships with other manufacturers and other businesses. Yes.
Is there a cap on what you can access?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like if,
Oh, gee.
if a team needed.
I can't do a team. Just my nonprofit. I mean, just the way I'm not my nonprofit. This is the way I'm kind of labeled. I cannot support a full team. Now, if the full team has a need, if they fall under that criteria of a kid in need, I can provide those kids a pair of shoes. So, answer your question. There is no cap, but I can't sponsor a full team, if you will. But if you have 30 of those 40 kids who need a pair of shoes, I'm gonna give 30 of those shoes to those kids. But that brings up another point. I'm at the mercy of what they open up to me. So I get an email saying, hey, the portal's open. These are all the things that you can purchase. Go get it. You have X amount of time to purchase it, and then it's closed. So I'm at the mercy of that. I'm also at the mercy of funding. I tried my hand at grant writing 4 times. I've been told I'm an amazing writer. I'm just not an amazing grant writer. So luckily, Verla, she's my freaking angel. She's got me in contact with some amazing people that's going to shadow me and not necessarily write the grants for me, but teach me how to write grants. Because I hate when people do stuff for me. I'd rather do it myself. So she's like, yeah, I'm gonna teach you how to be a grant writer. Yeah, perfect. So I'm trying my first grant again after my 4th failure, and hopefully I get approved of this one. But so besides being limited to the portal, I'm also limited to resources. So right now I funded my entire inventory, which is about almost $30,000 worth of inventory that we have right now. I think with a couple donations here and there. But we're almost $30,000 into our mission. And I'm not complaining by no means at all. I'll be $50,000 if I have to be. But again, I'm at the mercy of where my spending cap is, or my spending window, and then the portal that opens up by Nike. So, and I'm limited to what they can provide me or what they offer me. So keep that in mind whenever it is a need. I don't have access to everything. I don't have everything. I don't have every size and everything. So if you are interested, if you are working with a community center, I have I could push out an inventory list so you'll know exactly what I have. And all you need to do is say, hey, Burge, I need a size 6 in the women's. I need a size 7 in the men's. And within 48 hours, I go pull it, drop it off. Deuces. Yeah, no questions asked. Anybody else? Nothing?
Can you talk a little bit more about how sports bridge you to college? We get a lot of kids, I hear a lot of kids, even when I taught middle school in California, I want to be an athlete. And it would burn me because I'm like, what else do you want to do? But I also know that, like you said, being involved, being plugged in, being a part of the team, whether you want to go pro or not, there are lessons and discipline and skills that they learn that help them in a broader sense. How can you have that confidence? You talked about this when we did the interview, but it teaches you more than I'm gonna be a pro baller.
So there are steps in everything we do, right? There are processes that we go through. In order for us to understand multiplication, we have to understand what addition is, division. What's that? M dot, Pem dot, whatever it's called, parentheses, da 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 da. Yeah. So there are processes that we have to go through, and I try to tell. I have a 15-year-old son who's a sophomore, freaking great ball player. Dad, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it, and got a full-on gym in the house, full-on gym, and I don't say anything to him. I work out every day, every morning. Stop it. So, Dad, I want to get up in the morning and go work out with you. Okay. Yeah, let's do it. I wake up, I'm in the gym working out. Nothing. I'm gonna work out with you after school, Dad. Got you. I do 2 a day sometimes. So I'm in the gym working out. Granted, he's almost in track season. But there are processes that you go through. And I tell kids, if you do not have that 3 a.m. work ethic, it is going to be a challenge for you to make it. Because there are kids out there who walk around with holes in the bottom of their shoes, who put saran wrap or plastic on their socks when it rains because the water soaking through the bottom of their shoes. But they're out there in that mud running, getting it in. If you're not up before those kids, it is going to be hard. Because it's not how gifted you are, it's how hard you work to get gifted. My son has all the gifts in the world to be a phenomenal football player. And don't get me wrong, he does have good work ethics. But I always tell him, you still need to have that 3 a.m. dog in you. Regardless of how hard you work out at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. or 6 p.m., you got to get it in early and get it in often. And some of these kids don't have that work ethic, but they still hold on to that dream. And I coach football. Last year I coached at Ferris, we don't want to talk about it, with Jarrell Haynes. And I try to tell these kids, dreaming is cool. But one, the way you go about your education will tell you how you're going to be an athlete, if you're going to be that athlete. Because if you're not putting that extra work in school, I'm not saying get A's, I'm not saying get B's, but if you're not putting forth that effort in class, there's no way in heck you're going to get a look. I tell those kids that all the time. I'm not gonna be the deterrent. I'm gonna still coach you to get to that next level. But you've got to, one, you have to have that work ethic, and two, you better have a plan B. My son has changed his freaking goals like 8 times. Now he wants to be a lawyer. And he goes through these little trials with me, and I'm like, son, first of all, you got to read some more, man. And you have to be able to control the room with your first 5 words. If you can't control the room with your first 5 words, you're in trouble. I want to be a barber. Now he wants to be a physical therapist also. So he wants to be a lawyer and a physical therapist. I don't know how he's going to do it. Cut hair on a football field right before the football game. I don't know. But so I worked hard, very hard growing up because I had no choice. I grew up in the ghettos, the projects of Jersey. Some of the worst projects in New Jersey I grew up in. I mean, where we had 2 sets of stairs, regular stairs and the stink pot stairs. If you walk down the regular stairs, the likelihood of you getting stabbed or beat up was pretty high. But if you walk down another flight of stairs, no one walked down them stairs because it was just that bad. You have a chance of surviving. I take those stairs all the time. And I'm talking running down the stairs, 13 steps. I would almost jump all 13 of them. And I lived on the 7th floor. So that in itself gave me the work ethic. To me, I knew I didn't want to be in New Jersey. I knew that for sure. And when I graduated high school, I never turned back. I think I went back one time for like 3 months when I was training to get to the Jets. That was it. When I got released, I was going back to California. Outro. But you bring up a really good point. I really try to encourage kids that everyone wants to be a professional athlete. Basketball is hard. You have 13 to 15 spots. And in this argument I had with the kids at Ferris. So you mean tell me that you're not starting on varsity, you're playing JV, or you're on a C squad, but you telling me you want to play football because you want to be a basketball player and you want to go to WSU. But you're on a C squad or you're on a JV and you're a junior in high school. I'm not saying it can't be done. But if you're not looked at right now, your mission is challenging. It's going to be that much harder. However, why keep the door closed to other options? You have football, you have baseball, you have track. Do yourself a favor. Try other things. Same thing with education, right? How many of us went to college with this preconceived notion that we were going to be a doctor or we were going to be a teacher, right? Let me tell you what my major was. I wanted to be a mathematician. My major was math. And I did the dumbest thing. I took finite math my freshman year. And they were saying, Birds, don't take finite math. Don't take finite math. I took it because I thought I was bad. Thought I was smart. I took finite math and I was like, I think 3 days into it, I was out. Then I became a history major. Then I had a poli-sci class, fell in love with it. Professor Grasso, fell in love with poli-sci. A little bit of history behind it, a little bit of politics. Boom, that was my thing. So I was like, I want to be a corporate litigator. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going through poli-sci and minor criminal justice, and I realized that's too much reading. So again, I had a plan at least, right? I had a plan. But again, I tell the kids, you're gonna make so many different decisions in your life to be so many different things. The one thing you can't do is stop. You can't stop. You got to keep going. I don't care if you want to be a doctor, you want to be a welder. So what? It's a freaking great job. And those are the life lessons I've learned. I try to impart on these kids. And so far, so good. I haven't had a kid, and I've been in GSL football for 10 years. Like I said, I worked with Verla Kidd when he was a freshman at Rogers. We all know how well he's doing. I'm not, and by no means am I taking credit for that. I just happened to work out with the kid a couple times, saw how talented he was, had my 1 year at Rogers and bounced. But again, these are the things that when you get people in your corner that believe in you, then impart that wisdom into you, you have no choice but to believe in yourself. As long as that person stays consistent in their message. So Any other questions? Yes. Oh, gee. That's like a eulogy question. How do you want to be remembered when you die? Yeah, right? It's true. Soulful Steps, if there was ever a person or an entity outside of my circle that was consistent in delivering, that was Soulful Steps. That's how I want to be remembered. Consistent delivery. Yes.
I see the passion you have for what you do, just by hearing you talk. But what gives you the drive to continue to do what you do?
Oh, gee. You guys are hitting me with some good questions, man. What gives me the drive? One, the things that I didn't have. I didn't have a community like this. I didn't have anybody I can turn to, talk to, idolize, mimic, watch, study. Spokane have a wealth of resources. Whether you're black, white, or native, this is, and I've learned this over my 20 years being here. And don't think that my 1 year here in Soulful Steps, don't let that fool you. I've been involved in the community for a long time. My wife's a teacher at Logan. We sponsor kids every year. This is a freaking great town. What drives me is I want to be better than April. I want to be better than April. I want to be better than everybody else who's that resource cog for these kids. Because if everyone knows April and no one knows who I am, I got a problem with that. So that's what drives me, is the being the best, right? So, and if I just happen to fall short of where April is, so be it, right? But I know the resources that she's given. And if I'm anywhere remotely close to what she's doing, I'm okay. And those kids are gonna know it. Those families are gonna know it. So that's what drives me, is the being the best. And I wanna make sure that everyone knows that if there's something that they need, and their mom and dad can't get it for them, their coaches can't get it for them, Uncle Bird's got it. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a community guy. I may not get involved, get my hands dirty like some of you all do. Like we all get meetings. I'm a very private person. But if you call me and say, hey, Burge, I need you to be there, Batmobile, let's go. I'm in it. So don't expect me to be at all your meetings. I ain't gonna do it. But when you need me, count on me. Anything else? And please test me. I'd love for you to test me. I'm gonna give this stuff out to you guys. So inside, my business card is gonna be in there, and I didn't do a good job in putting this thing together, but nonetheless, I would love for you all to put me through a test and pass that back to me, please. Yeah, yes. And if you like, you can, so just to give you an idea, you can pass this around to people. So these are some of the things that I have access to. Some of them are maybe a little risque, but just this is to show you just the quality of the clothing that I have access to as well. And by the way, that flyer in there, that football flyer, we did a camp last year. It wasn't that great. I think I kind of pulled the trigger too fast on that. Like I said, I love kids. I love getting involved with the community. But we had just got formed, and I tried to do it on a football camp, and it just didn't fall that. I do. Kind of fell flat on my face a little bit, but nonetheless, that's just to show you my commitment to this community. So not only are we doing football camps, we're doing track camps as well. As a football coach, the one thing I see quite a bit is that when kids come to a program, some of them have the worst feet I've ever seen. And again, I'm not critiquing those who are born with deficiencies in the way they walk, and I get all of that. But our kids don't know the art of just walking. Forget running. We have to teach kids these days how to walk properly, and then move on from there. So we are putting on, I have one of the Ferris coaches at coaches track. He was in the Olympics many moons ago. Smart guy, but he and I teaming up. We're going to do these walking and running clinics late spring before school lets out, and hopefully we can piggyback on that. But just to give these kids something to look forward to, as far as, now mind you, we have kids who don't play sports because the way they walk. So granted, it may be a small population of kids, but imagine if we can just critique or fix the way a kid stands. We have kids that walk this way. We have kids that walk on the outsides of their feet. We have kids that pronated that walk on the inside of their ankles. Again, I know that there are kids out there who are, that's the way their feet are. But there are corrective measures as well for that. So again, we want to try to get involved in the community and helping these kids in that perspective as well. We're going to try to get what's called doctors, is it podiatrist? We're going to try to get one of those on staff, kind of help us out along the process. But this is just some of the things that we're talking, what we want to do for, and hopefully those kids will then be able to participate in sports, be confident about what they do, how to do it, and then go on to be great doctors, in other than an orthopedic doctor or a PT, because but yeah, so again, if no one has any more questions, I'm just blabbling now, but please, my business card is there, website, always open for ideas and how I could be better, how I can do better. Like I said, we're a startup, so my way is not the only way, it's not the best way, but it's the only way I know right now. So if anybody has any ideas that, hey, we can push it out to be more efficient this way by doing it this way, blah, 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 I am open to ideas, right? It takes a community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eugene.